By late September 1942, Guadalcanal had become a graveyard for young Marines. Lieutenant Colonel William Whaling stood at the edge of Henderson Field, observing the stretcher bearers bring in the latest casualties. A seven-man patrol had gone into the jungle that morning. Only four had returned. The jungle, dense and unforgiving, belonged to the Japanese. Ambushes were routine and death came swiftly. Whaling, a decorated World War I veteran and former Olympic marksman, had been recently relieved of his position, not for failure, but for clashing with superiors. Rather than sending him home, Colonel Gerald Thomas, recognizing Whaling's unmatched knowledge of fieldcraft, asked him to study the patrol problem and find a solution. The statistics were grim. In just 3 weeks, 17 patrols had been wiped out. The 1st Marine Division had lost 400 men to Japanese ambushes in September alone. Trained for conventional warfare, Marines found themselves helpless in the jungle. The Japanese moved unseen, striking with precision and vanishing before retaliation. It became clear that traditional tactics would only lead to annihilation. Whaling knew they needed men who could outmatch the Japanese in their own terrain, men who could think independently, move silently, and kill without being seen. On September 29th, Whaling brought his proposal to General Alexander Vandegrift: form a specialized scout sniper unit made up of volunteers with rural backgrounds, hunting skills, and a knack for marksmanship. Vandegrift, who was familiar with the ranger tactics of Robert Rogers during the French and Indian War, immediately approved. The idea of small, agile teams operating behind enemy lines offered a lifeline in a war of attrition. Whaling spent the next days poring through service records, looking for indicators, expert rifle qualifications, histories of hunting, and disciplinary issues that suggested independent thinking rather than cowardice. By October 1st, he had selected 43 candidates. When he briefed them the next morning, he didn't sugarcoat the mission. Reconnaissance work carried a casualty rate above 50%. They would operate in teams of 2 or 3, often deep behind enemy lines with no guarantee of rescue. 41 men accepted. Whaling knew he had the right material, not just soldiers, but hunters. The training began immediately. With no manuals and no precedent, Whaling relied on experience drawn from 24 years in the Marine Corps. Silence was the first lesson. He took the men into the jungle and asked them to walk 100 yards without making noise. All failed. Boots cracked branches, metal rattled, canteens clinked. So he stripped their gear, wrapped noisy components in cloth, swapped boots for soft-soled shoes. Within days, half could move undetected within 200 yards of a Japanese position. Next came marksmanship. Range practice wasn't enough. Whaling trained his men to fire from awkward positions, uphill, downhill, lying in mud, and to adjust for wind, humidity, and distance using only their eyes and instinct. Soon, the best of them could drop targets at 400 yards with iron sights, but technical skills weren't enough. The hardest part was reshaping their thinking. Traditional Marines worked within a rigid command structure, but Whaling's scouts had to operate with autonomy. He taught them how to read maps, analyze terrain, sketch fortifications, and estimate troop strength from subtle indicators like smoke or footprints. On October 13th, General Vandegrift ordered Whaling to send his partially trained unit across the Matanikau River. The Japanese were entrenched with machine guns and artillery hidden in the jungle. Regular patrols had been slaughtered trying to locate these positions. Whaling chose 8 men, divided them into 4 teams, and gave them clear instructions: observe and report, avoid engagement, and return if possible. There would be no rescue missions. The first team found an artillery position with 4 howitzers and 60 soldiers. They sketched everything and returned undetected. The second located a machine gun nest. The third mapped patrol routes. The fourth ran into a Japanese patrol and had to flee under pursuit. Despite the risks, the mission brought back the first accurate maps of enemy defenses. Vandegrift changed his entire offensive plan based on their intelligence, shifting from a frontal assault to flanking maneuvers. The scouts had proven themselves. Whaling was ordered to expand the unit to company strength, 100 men. As the largest Marine offensive on Guadalcanal loomed, his scout snipers would lead the way. They infiltrated enemy lines ahead of the main attack, eliminated officers, radio operators, and artillery spotters. On October 7th, a scout killed a Japanese forward observer with a single shot, halting enemy shelling. By noon, Marine infantry had advanced 600 yards unopposed, encircled. Japanese troops faced annihilation. In 4 days, 750 Japanese died, with minimal Marine losses. The operation validated Whaling's vision. On October 8th, Whaling was wounded by mortar shrapnel. Infection set in, and by mid-October he was evacuated. Though absent, his creation endured. Scout sniper platoons became a formal part of each regiment, and Whaling was awarded the Legion of Merit in 1944. He would go on to command at Cape Gloucester and Okinawa, but his legacy was the doctrine that shaped Marine reconnaissance for generations. 2 years later, another Marine officer, First Lieutenant Frank Tachovsky, read Whaling's reports and envisioned a bolder, more unorthodox unit. In January 1944, Tachovsky visited the brig at Camp Tarawa, Hawaii, looking not for model Marines but for misfits, brawlers, fighters, and troublemakers. These were men with assault charges and insubordination records. Instead of punishing them, Tachovsky recruited them. His rationale was simple. The man in the brig was the one who won the fight. He formed a 40-man unit combining these brawlers with skilled marksmen. Training included Whaling's field craft, but with new additions. Hand-to-hand combat, knife fighting, garrote techniques, and survival training equipment was poor, so the men stole what they needed: better weapons, rations, even a jeep. Other Marines dubbed them the 40 Thieves, not as an insult, but out of respect. By June 1944, they were ready. Their first mission was on Saipan, 15 square miles of hell defended by 30,000 Japanese. On June 15th, the Marines landed under withering fire. The 40 Thieves went in with the fourth wave, bypassed the front lines, and headed for high-value targets. Within hours, they had killed Japanese radio operators and forward observers. Chaos spread through enemy ranks. In the days that followed, the Thieves operated deep behind lines. They scouted Mount Tipo Pale, ambushed couriers, and eliminated targets without detection. On June 17th, 8 men infiltrated Garapan and destroyed a major ammunition depot with satchel charges. The explosion crippled Japanese artillery capabilities, reducing Marine casualties significantly, but success came at a cost. Japanese forces began setting ambushes for scouts, using wounded Marines as bait. In response, the Thieves made a grim pact: no one would be taken alive. Combat intensified. On June 24th, the Thieves located a battalion command post in caves and called in naval gunfire, eliminating the entire command structure. The next day, they suffered a severe loss when Corporal Martin Dyer sacrificed himself so his patrol could escape an ambush. He was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross. By late June, the Japanese prepared for a massive banzai charge. Tachovsky's platoon was tasked with disrupting preparations. On June 27th, 20 Thieves infiltrated enemy lines and silently eliminated 17 officers. When the banzai charge came, it was disorganized and easily repelled. The Thieves had dismantled the enemy's ability to coordinate, saving countless lives. After 21 days of continuous combat, only 27 of the original 40 remained. They returned to Hawaii in August, and the unit was disbanded in October. The Marine Corps deemed such specialized units too costly in casualties, yet their impact shaped the future. Tachovsky received the Silver Star, and his tactics influenced Marine reconnaissance operations for decades. What Whaling pioneered on Guadalcanal, the 40 Thieves perfected on Saipan. The lineage of modern Marine Scout snipers traces directly to these men, their training, their fieldcraft, their independence. The Scout Sniper MOS was officially retired in 2023, but its legacy endures in reconnaissance units and military doctrine. These men proved that in the deadliest environments, victory belongs not to the boldest, but to the unseen.